Thank you for inviting me. I think for the first time I'm going to be on stage without our moderator cautioning me about the time. But, anyway, so Ekta, don't worry, I'll try and kind of keep it to the time. So for this session, I've been given 3 specific key perspectives to be discussed. I think I'm going to get into that straight away. And I'm really not going to talk about my journey because maybe we'll kind of explore that through questions. So the 3 key perspectives that have been given for this session, like a boss. I really like the title of the session. Thank you for choosing that. And I loved your session. I think that was wonderful, ma'am, and I think kudos to you. Learned a lot in the 10 minutes that I witnessed your session. Thank you so much. And I wish we have that kind of a slim physical appearance in the next birth or something like that. So on the 3 key aspects, one is about embracing a growth mindset. Second is overcoming the imposter syndrome. And the third is having career goals beyond job goals. So I'm going to talk about these 3 things. May not strictly related to what I went through, but in general, my views on that. But before that, I think we are all here in the month of March. So we just celebrated Women's Day and we came here. So even though it's belated, I think I can still say Happy Women's Day. And most of us, only 2 of you clapped. I don't know why, but it's okay. I'm glad men also clapped, so thanks to them as well. So on the Women's Day, all of us, or every woman in this room, would have received in our respective WhatsApp IDs several pictures of roses. Yes or no? And people wishing us for Women's Day. I also received something else which was of great interest to me. It was at least 10 or 15 people have forwarded to me the picture of a woman with 8 hands. So one hand had a feeding bottle, one hand had a laptop, one hand had a dosa therapy, whatever you call it, ladle. So there were 8 hands, and then it said to the superwoman, the super goddess, the super wife, and super mom. So I wanted to tell them all thanks, but no thanks. I don't have 8 hands, and I don't intend having ever 8 hands. I am not goddess Parashakti, I am only a human being. So by this picture, what they're really trying to tell us is that you better do every household duty yourself. And hence I said, thanks, but no thanks. I have only 2 hands, and I will do whatever I can. So on the Women's Day, I think it is of supreme importance that we tell ourselves, the men and women in this room, that I am first a human being, and I also happen to be a woman. So I can make mistakes. So allow me to fall down sometimes so that I'll be able to get up and move on. But the moment you call me a superwoman, then I get this anxiety in my mind. Now my house cannot have any cockroaches. What will I do? Now my husband's shirt collar cannot have any grease or any stain. What will I do about it? More importantly, I'll have to cook 3 times a day delicious meals. Karam, manam, gunam, nirenda, sambar pudi I have to have, which I don't have, by the way. So what will I do? And at least these 3 things I'm okay, I'll try and do something or the other. But now I'm supposed to get my sons or whoever to be first in the class. So then you also have to be best in work. If I'm a scientist, I have to wear a white coat and certify every toothpaste and every toothbrush and every hand sanitizer. I have to be best pilot, I have to be the best sports person, I have to be the best chartered accountant and storyteller and the best banker. I can't be everything. So on this Women's Day, all that I want to do is sit back, relax, enjoy. and tell myself that I'll do things. I have got my own maternal instinct, so I'll try and do everything as much as possible. But I'm not going to be perfect. Don't call me superwoman, because I'm not. Don't call me super wife, because I'm not going to be doing everything in the house. My husband has to share. And don't call me super mom, because it's not my singular responsibility to make my ward the best in life or in the class. I'll try, but allow me to fail. That's all I want to say on this Women's Day. So thanks. The 3 points, and very quickly, because I'm mindful about the time that's given to me. The first is about embracing a growth mindset. So there are at least 10 or 15 men or women that I can quote here who have been my mentors. For example, Mr. Ajay Banga, I had the privilege of working with him, not directly in his reporting line, but in the same organization, in the same flow, when he was with City and he was in Chennai. Many of you don't know that he actually worked in Chennai when he was in City, but he was here. So I was with Ajay Banga in the team, and then at his farewell, when he was moving to US, and they say rest is history. So after he moved to US, rest is history. But in his farewell meeting, I asked him if you will give me one advice on how we should pursue our career, especially since I'm from the financial industry. He gave us one piece of advice, which is upfront bad news to your boss. This is the advice that he gave me, and I followed it till whenever that was possible. So many mentors like him, many women role models. But I'm going to talk about somebody quite unusual in a forum like this, and I'm going to talk about the subject on embracing a growth mindset. So it was the period just after COVID, when we were all kind of returning back to work, and I live in a place called Gopalapuram in Chennai, and it is near a big street, big lane called street or whatever that, Avai Shanmugam Sala. So Anna Lakshmi Akka runs a idli shop in that place. So it's very close to my house, so I take a look at her every day. She comes every day at about 7:30, and she has a breakfast shop which serves only idlis, and she winds up around 9:30. This is her routine. She comes in a vehicle which has 4 wheels, but it's a vehicle that she has to pedal. It's a cycle attached to a vehicle. And she brings her husband with her. He was physically challenged, so she has to pedal, and he will be sitting there. And then as soon as she comes in, she starts making idlis there in the street itself. And she makes it very clear as to who is the boss of the shop. So she tells her husband, hey, chutney podiya summave ninnitrika, seekram. So the way I saw in, whatever I saw in her, I thought all of us, or everybody who's aspiring to grow further in their chosen path of life, we have a lot of lessons to learn from Anna Lakshmi Akka. And I did really try to learn. I don't know how successful I was, but I did really try to learn. So Anna Lakshmi Akka starts making idlis, and as soon as she starts the process, 10 or 15 men, apart from the regular customers, will just line up there. And she says, I'll throw hot water on you. Just move from here. And she names everybody. You owe me 117 rupees. You owe me 210 rupees. You owe me 67 rupees 50 paisa. Unless you give it to me, I'm not going to give you idli. Run away. I'll throw hot water on you. And then she gets busy with the customers who are actually paying. These are guys who can't pay. For whatever reasons, they're very poor. They can't even do that. They still stand there. And I used to wonder why they still there. She's going to throw hot water on them. And she did look like she will throw hot water on them. But once the routine is over, the customers are all done, she makes the last batch of idlis for her. You all know how to make idlis. In the huge plate, she makes about 25-30 idlis. She takes them and she calls her husband, and then he starts eating those 4 or 5 idlis. Then it's time for her to eat is what I would assume. But she would call the guys who are still standing there, who she knows will not be able to pay. And then she gives them each those 4 idlis or 5 idlis, and she knows who will eat 4 and who will eat 5 and who will eat 6. She gives them all and then reminds them, now you owe me actually 123 rupees. Now you owe me actually 178 rupees. And then she says, if you come tomorrow without paying, Suridhani mela uthiruven. And then she eats whatever is left, her 4 or 5 idlis, and she orders her husband, Vandu sambar uda vendidana yen nikire ni summa. And then he serves her sambar, she eats it, she sits on the vehicle and she starts pedaling. After she kind of lifts her husband, who is physically challenged, into the vehicle. And what I loved most about the story was the tag she had in the vehicle. It said, Urimam Annalakshmi, which meant owner is Annalakshmi. She was unapologetic being in declaring that I am the boss here. You all listen. And every day she used to pass by my house because I usually watch her. And she tells me, "Nee bank la thanne vela paakura, enak oru loan vaangi kudu idu expand panna." Unfortunately, my bank was not considering the profile. We tried to kind of help in whatever little way we could. But she wouldn't stop asking me. Every time she met me, she was not asking me, I saw you in Sun TV. She will not ask me, can I take a selfie with you? She will only ask me, you work for a bank, so you better try and get a loan for me. Ladies and gentlemen, this is embracing growth for me. Because every day, in every way, she wanted to grow her business. Every day and every way, she wanted to declare to the world that I am the boss here, including to one of her employees, which is her husband. She didn't mind telling him that I am the boss here. And he also accepted it because he knows who is better of the two in being able to manage a difficult position like that. You know that street, some of you who ever live in Chennai, it's not very easy to navigate in that street, to run a business. She did it and she knows how to put people in place. Last but not the least, as a part of her growth, she wanted to feed herself well. The last batch of idlis was not some minjipona pieces or the leftover pieces, but it was a hot plate of idlis that she sat, enjoyed and ate after feeding her husband. More importantly, after feeding those 4 or 5 who will never be able to pay. She has the math in her mind. She knows how much they owe her. But every day she will give them the idli, even though she knows that she will never be throwing hot water on them. She tells them every day. Why is she saying that every day? That's for those who are around, who are sensing that she is giving free idlis. It's for the others, so that this list will not add. But it is a societal, social responsibility to ensure that everybody grows around her as she is growing. To me, ladies and gentlemen, this is really embracing a growth model. So I learned a lot from her. Of course, we have all learned from Indra Nuis, Sheryl Sandberg, everybody we have learned. But for me personally, there has been more learning from Annalakshmi Akka than anybody else. I'm moving to the second point, which I don't know what's your view, but I have a slightly different view. I hope you're okay with that. And if you call a Pattimandram speaker for a forum like this, you better be sure that I'm going to say something which some others may not agree with. So, overcoming imposter syndrome. So, imposter syndrome, I'm sure this term resonates with everybody. It is defined. And organizations repeatedly talk about it when they have the performance conversations with women leaders, especially women leaders in the middle management and in the senior management positions. They say that they ask us, are you suffering from this syndrome, imposter syndrome? So what is imposter syndrome? Having risen to a position which is of some critical importance, not too critical, but which is of some critical importance in the organizational hierarchy, they say that women start questioning their own abilities of, am I the right one to be here? I don't think I'm good enough. But I've been still put here. I'm here. I don't think I'm good enough. So they develop an anxiety around this, and this is what is named as imposter syndrome. What do you all think? I think The imposter syndrome is another HR jargon which is thrust upon women. I don't think there is any woman who truly believes that I am not deserving to be in the place that I have really struggled to occupy. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a privilege, especially in the last 1.5 years after I moved away from my bank, to be traveling to the second tier, third tier, and even villages in Tamil Nadu, constantly to colleges and schools. I meet students, especially the girls and their mothers. Everyone is ambitious. Everyone is willing to go that extra mile. They want to occupy positions of power and importance. They don't want to lead the lives that mothers and grandmothers have led, of being submissive, of going to their husbands for buying a pottu or a salwar kameez or a hairband. They don't want to lead a life like that. They want to progress. I see this constantly. And what I don't understand, maybe somebody should explain to me what it really means. After all the struggles, when you have come to the path and you're in the direction of where you want to go, are you going to feel that I don't deserve this? Not really. Not really. So imposter syndrome is something that has been thrust on the women, and I want to ask the organizations. Luckily, I'm no part of any organization, so I can ask this question. So I am going to ask the organizations, what are you really trying to tell us? What are you really trying to tell us? So let me throw 3 situations to you. Why is this girl who was actually participating a lot in official meetings and conferences suddenly not speaking at all? What happened to her? Imposter syndrome? No. So why is this South Indian woman who was actually in every way eligible for a promotion, not given that promotion, but in the performance appraisal talk, somebody is telling her that she did not get the visibility that she should have got? And why is the woman of color who was passionately pursuing a project was suddenly removed from that project and put somewhere else? So when these 3 women that I spoke about and several other women now go back to the appraisal desks, they are told that you probably have an imposter syndrome. Now, maybe imposter syndrome does exist, but only as much as it exists in the psyche of the male. Nothing more, nothing less. It's not a woman-centric phenomena. In 2022, Webster Dictionary Associates chose a word to be the word of the year. That word is gaslighting. Some of you might have heard about that word. And for some of the people who are on the wrong side of 40s, or early 50s, you would have seen this Tamil movie called Rangoon Radha. No hand is raising, so I'm assuming everybody is younger to me in this hall. Okay. So that's exactly gaslighting, where the husband or the lover makes the girl believe that she's mad. She's not. She's absolutely okay. But he makes her believe that she is having a psychological disorder. So that's called gaslighting. So I'm sorry to equate the 2 terms, but I think I'm at a position where I'm just equating the 2 words. So there is nothing like an imposter syndrome. The organizations have to ask themselves, what are you fixing here? Are you fixing the bias, or are you fixing the woman here? This is the question that we need to ask the organizations. Why is this woman pushed to a point that she starts asking herself, am I really going to be able to do this? Because there is a men's club in every organization, or in most organizations, that have a bias. Some of this bias is conscious. Some of this bias is conscious. Most of this bias is unconscious bias. They don't know themselves that they have a bias. If a HR personnel asks them a question on, do you have a bias in hiring a woman? They're going to say, what the hell are you talking about? I am an equal opportunity employer and I will recruit best talent. Thank you so much. But if there is a woman who sounds as aggressive as her male counterpart, are you going to really hire her for this position? If there is a woman who won't be able to join your networks because she doesn't smoke or drink, are you going to kind of hear her out as much as you hear from the male colleagues? So, if at all a woman is pushed to a position where she believes that she won't be able to do it, you can't blame her for that. You will have to blame the cultural and the historical reasons around her that are really putting hindrances in the path of her progress. So let me share this with you quickly. I, as a leader in my organization, went through about 5 years as the operations head. That was the time when RBI put in a lot of regulations to be implemented by the financial institutions. So every week there will be a regulation. So every Monday, they won't wait till Monday because most of the regulations come on a Sunday night. So we have this terrible Monday syndrome, not because we don't want to go to work, but we were checking what is the regulation that came on Sunday night. So we have to form teams because we have to comply with the regulations. We can't be some organizations which say, I won't comply, so we have to comply. So we have to get teams to adhere to the regulations, right? So I call a team of people about, let's say about 10. I'm just taking a hypothetical number. 7 guys and 3 girls. So I ask them, guys, this is the project. We have to comply within the next 60 days. That's all that RBI has given us time for. Now, who's willing to be the head of this project? What do you think will happen? All 7 guys will raise their hands without batting an eyelid. What about the 3 girls or ladies or women there? They have been called there because they are eligible. I'm not going to call somebody because I need a woman representation. Now there is no time to think about all representation here. I have to comply. So I'm calling them. So I'm just going to stop for a minute till Preeti settles down. Hi. You can't add this minute to my time. Yeah, so almost come to an end. So when the 3 girls or the 3 women, what do you think they do? Any guesses? They first quickly check with the other girls whether they are raising their hands or not. And then there is one girl who quarter raised her hand. After seeing her, the second lady half raises her hand. And the third woman has this mind voice, which I can hear, obviously. She says, "Ippave veetukku poga 7:30 mani agudhu, unga project eda poda na 9 manikku da veetukku poven." Which means, as such, I'm going home at 7:30. If I become the project head, I don't think I'll go home at even 9:30. So why should I take it? So now, you're going to call those 3 women and tell them you have an imposter syndrome because you really don't believe you deserve to be the project head because you think you're a fraud. You don't believe that you have the potential to come up to where you have come. No, I decline. No, I don't agree. So the organizations will have to support women at the difficult life cycle stages. The organizations will have to address bias and not fix women. Till that happens, I think this term will remain, but thank you, but no thank you. I'm not going to agree with this term. So like I heard in the last session, there is only one way for us. The victory of one woman is not enough for us. We need hundreds of chairs. And when we have to occupy hundreds of chairs, if there are only 100 chairs, okay, let's occupy 50 chairs. I don't mind occupying more, but at least 50 we need to occupy. If I have to occupy 50 chairs, all of us will have to work together. It's not a wrestling game when one has to lose when the other person has to win. But in the corporate game or the jungle that we travel in, we have to catch each other's hand and move on. Now, on the last and final point, having a career goal beyond job goals, all of us need to have job goals because they are critical and important for us. I need that corner C-suite. I need this promotion. I need to head this project. I need to be here and I need to be there. Nothing wrong in it. But as we heard in the previous session, and I really love the words when she spoke about it, saying, your calling will come to you at some time or the other. For some people, as we heard, it comes very early. For some people, it comes a little late. For me, it came when I was well over 33, 34. That is when I realized that, yes, I'm a banker. Yes, I want the C-suite. Yes, I want this promotion. But my calling is to be on stage. And then I reoriented my job goals to align with the overall career path that I had. So then I tried to be a mentor, and that was a job goal, so that it will align with my overall career goal, because that's where I want to be. Job goals are important, but if they don't align with your career goal, you will get frustrated sooner than later. It doesn't matter that we all don't have to retire at an early age like a sports person, but internally you would have retired when you are hitting your midlife crisis. Why? Because you are not finding pleasure in whatever you have got. But if you really want to be there, and if you want to hear your soul's calling, your career goals and job goals will have to align. Thank you for this opportunity.